The roads were a little empty. Places where we used to gather went quiet. We've gone through a year that tested us, but we're starting to see the promise of a new day. For more than 100 years, there's one place where we all came together to be entertained, to escape, to go someplace new. The movies. There's nothing like that moment when the lights go down. The projector ignites. And we believe.
Tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking. There's no bridge!
Oh, hell no.
Well, that was new.
After staying apart for so long, we miss the old life.
Do you?
Every day. It's time to come back together.
I'm ready if you are.
To laugh.
My ass is in fuego!
To cheer.
Yes!
We're ready to make you believe again.
Whoa.
Because nobody does a comeback like the movies.
It's good to be back.
We'll see you soon.
So first of all, I was wondering how early on you had this decision to bring Han back. Was that because you see the fans wanted? Do you actually pay attention to what fans want?
Well, I'll tell you, when I left the franchise, I took him with me. You know, we left together, and it was when the whole movement Justice for Han came out. I looked into it and I asked what it was about, and I was just as baffled and probably upset as the fans, you know. And so coming back and trying to at least do justice for Han, I would give 100% of the credit to the fans, for sure.
I also wondering how hard it is to deal with Paul Walker's character. Was that a talk that just not mention him, or how difficult to actually put this character in?
I don't know if it's difficult. I think it's more of, the fact that Paul is such a huge part and continues to, Brian O'Connor continues to be a huge part of the Fast universe. I think it's more of for me, it's a back and forth of making sure that whatever we do, we have to put, a lot of thought into it, and hopefully we do it with respect.
So, because this franchise has been, shooting in many locations in the world, all over the world. Was there some location that you had in mind for a long time, but you haven't been able to do it?
We're very lucky. I think when before we start any of these films, I just kind of jump on a plane and I fly around the world, and we're always looking for good, partners who can help us, because unlike other franchises, whatever we're doing in action, we almost need to, close down city blocks for weeks, and so, we've been very fortunate thus far, and I look forward to finding new partners.
Would you say that the most difficult or challenging thing about this movie is the car chasing thing, or what else that you?
I think that the action is always difficult, but I have the best crew in the world, and I have a lot of time, and we prepare it, we test it, we make sure it's safe. I think for me on this movie, the most difficult was working with the 3-year-old, making sure that he believes that Dom Toretto is his father. But I think that is every day there's a new challenge.
And I really like the part that they went to space, but they dressed like a minion. I was wondering, was that like an idea that they just say, oh, because Minion is a Universal movie, let's mention it, or it's just happened that after you dress it, it looked like they just look like Minions?
No, it was an exercise for me actually of if we were gonna have to build something that has to go to the outer atmosphere without with maybe a day's notice, what would that take? And so it was a conversation with a lot of NASA scientists, and I realized that deep sea diving suits are very similar to astronaut suits. So that was actually more of the exercise for me of seeing, if we were going to try to practically build something that's going to go to outer atmosphere, what would it take? And the suit obviously was one of them. And it was kind of a happy accident. I think when we looked at it, we all laughed and thought it looked like a Minion, and it became the joke.
Actually, you mentioned NASA because people in the past, they already talk about this franchise has to go to the space. Was that like a decision that's in your mind that you think, okay, is it really possible? Should we talk to someone? So how long that process is to decide if we can actually really?
It's actually much more possible than you would imagine. I mean, I think I'm very fortunate. I think any crazy idea I have, I can pick up the phone and find people who are experts in those fields. And so when I sat down and talked to NASA scientists, the biggest issue actually initially was about fuel if you were launching from the ground. And we just kept doing research, and we saw this Virgin Galactic launch that, if you could go up higher, you actually require less fuel. And so I felt like I went back to school and really learned a lot about it. And I think when you look at the science of it, it's actually much more sound than some of the other stuff in this franchise.
But right now already went to space. What's next? Is it like do you usually have an idea that before, or is actually really just like, okay, we're gonna just wait and see? How hard is to come out new ideas?
I mean, it should always be a challenge. It should never be easy, And I think that. Especially, I think on this one for Part 9, where we're hitting 20th anniversary of this franchise, I felt like it was appropriate for us to kind of explore our mythology, but also at the same time, really be able to kind of hopefully embrace how far we've come, And so that was more of kind of the inspiration for this one. But I always feel like we go with the characters, wherever they take us. But if anything, this one kind of sets us up for our final chapter, and to me, it's whatever our character is going to take us. That's where I'm loyal to.
What kind of the biggest change? Like you've been in this franchise for a long time, but then you also left, and then you come back. And what's changed? Was it the taste of the audience, or the technology, or in terms of how just the movie industry changed?
I feel like this is such a unique franchise. It's not based on IP or comic book, and so for us to be able to kind of build it, and sometimes in the case of Justice for Han, where the fans have a huge role in making that happen. I never want to take anything for granted, but at the same time, I think as we're kind of approaching our final chapter, that's something that we've been talking about for the last 9-10 years, Vin and I, and I never thought we actually were gonna actually do it, but it is kind of gratifying to know that there is a roadmap now on how we're gonna do that.
And I also noticed the female character seems to has more scenes and more things to do this time, and then just more female character in general. And was that like things that you always wanted, and how to balance? There were so many characters right now.
There's never like an agenda for me. I love all the characters, and if anything, coming back, I realized maybe there are some opportunities because some of the characters are maybe underutilized, So it was just I think it comes from love of all of the characters, but at the same time, again, it's the 20th anniversary. I wanted to hopefully do justice and give every character the same kind of love, that they deserve.
I don't know if I can mention about the Gal Gadot's character was like a surprise for the fans. Do you feel like that scene was used before, or it was actually reshot?
No,
Giselle's character.
that is from Han and Giselle from Fast
Okay.
Six.
So
Yeah.
it's basically, but you want to bring some of the old characters back, right? Like just to make sure that fans.
Well, I think there's a very for me there's a very detailed journey for Han, you know, and maybe you only get a glimpse of it in this film, but I can assure you that there's a whole script of his journey, and maybe one day that will be able to come to life. But I think that's the way we prepped this chapter, you know, to bring him back. I didn't want it just to be something that's very flippant and easy. I wanted to make it feel like there was a whole other movie. There's a whole other real journey.
Okay, so last question. I was just wondering, in this moment, how do you make decision? What kind of project you want to take? Because you have done some franchise, you've done action films or other TV shows, and what else you want to explore right now at this moment?
You know, I think when I came back, Vin and I had a kind of a heart-to-heart, and he said, "Look, when you come back, let's finish this together." And so that's my commitment to him, to the franchise, to the cast, to the crew, and it's actually very, to me, I feel fully supported, and it's you know, I feel like my next 3 years, you know, I know I'm gonna be just sleeping, waking up, thinking about our last chapter, and just working, and that's something very comforting for me to know that, you know, in a way we maybe earned this last chapter, and let's do it right.
So that is confirmed for the 10th.
Yes.
The franchise. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I'll send you back.
Thank you.
coffee.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Oh, thank you.